Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Namaste Center. The button should be red. Is it red?
Yep.
Okay, we're good to go. Okay, just in case you all don't know the high tech we deal with here on Sunday mornings, now you know the secrets. Okay, so it's great to see everybody here today. Thought I'd talk a little bit about living in flow, because what do we come here for but to learn how to live better and to be better and experience more joy and peace and happiness in our life and carry that love and flow into the world. And so I found some interesting things that I want to share with you guys and about how we can recognize where we're maybe not in the flow and how we can get back there. Because I know that we are designed to live in flow, but we have a lot of blocks and obstacles that keep us from living in the flow, living in peace. The synchronicity may not be there in our lives, but as children of God, we were created to live in love. But somehow, somewhere along the way, we've forgotten how. So today, we're going to learn to remember. We're going to choose to remember. Well, one thing I found interesting, there's being a longtime student and teacher of A Course in Miracles, it's described as being spiritual psychotherapy, is what it is. And it describes the old paradigm of psychology being that of which you make your weekly appointment with your therapist, you tell them all your problems, everywhere you're stumbling, all your challenges. Then you go back into 42 years ago when this happened and you reenact that, and then the therapist sometimes will come back and say, well, that is now what we describe as blah, blah, blah. And they name it, okay? And now you go out and you tell your friends, oh, my therapist says I have this. And it's like, really? So it's like, yeah, well, what is that? Oh, that's something they just came up with. It's like, really? And so it's like, oh, yeah, it's really bad. But after 14 more years of therapy, I may be able to get through this. And certainly, I am not anti-therapy. I'm for therapy all the way. Don't get me wrong. I think it's great to have someone to talk to who's not judging you, who's able to see beyond your story and to be able to help you find your own answers. But I think that what the Course says is that really, if we're willing to let go of our past and allow the Holy Spirit, the still small voice within us, to reinterpret our story, we can really accomplish peace. We don't have to be stuck to our past and carrying that ball and chain around. And it's easy, but it's not that simple, okay? It's a practice. So I'm not saying abandon your medication or abandon your therapy, but rather know that there is a way to work towards the light and a process. And the beauty of this is the Holy Spirit will meet us where we are, because the Holy Spirit knows our whole picture. And Spirit will sit there and say, okay, Charlotte, your picture is this, your big picture. So here's what I recommend for you. And it may be completely different than what is guidance for someone else. That's why it's real tempting to sometimes tell people what they need to do, but it's not always the best thing. And I'll give you an example. I had a conversation with a friend who was telling me all the reasons that we needed to do something her way. And I said, people don't care what you think. I said, they don't care what I think, really. I said, and I don't mean that. And she ended up giggling over this because, sometimes we get so strong in our ideas and opinions that we forget that there's other parties involved and that there's a bigger plan unfolding here. And at the end, she said, thank you for pointing that out. And I did point it out with love, because I'm pretty strong-headed. I can have, who giggled? And so I certainly know that path very well. But I'm beginning to recognize that doesn't work so well anymore. And that when I really get still and ask for the guidance, things work a lot better, a lot more easily. Not only for me, but for everybody else. Well, there's something that has been developed in the more recent years called positive psychology, which is wonderful. It's rather than going into the old story, the old paradigm, and going to therapy for as many years as whatever. It's about really, the definition, it's a scientific study of the strengths and virtues that enable individuals and communities to thrive. The field is founded on the belief that people want to lead meaningful and fulfilling lives and to cultivate what is best within themselves and to enhance their experience of love, work, and joy. So it's that positive psychology. That just has a lighter vibe to it anyway. And so what it really asks us to do is to accentuate the positive. We'll get into a few more of the tips on how to make this happen in your own life. But you know, a lot of this now, especially in sports and a lot of musicians and artists, you know, we hear about living in the zone. And that zone is really that timeless space of where I'm just in my most creative aspect of myself. My best is coming forth. And, you know, I'm not distracted by anything. It's just I'm right there. And I can, you know, give examples of when I played golf. I can give examples of, I know Terry, when he sings, it's like the zone, you know, he's not really, it's just coming through him. And I know we've all experienced that in some aspect of our life. You can do it when you're cooking, whatever you love to do, wherever your passion is, you know, when you're able to let go of that mind chatter, it's a wonderful place to be. You know, a lot of times, now this is an interesting thing. It talks about, though, when we get in the zone in maybe ways that might not be so productive. I can relate to this one. Going online, maybe on Facebook or something, and 3 hours later it's like, oh my God, it's 3 in the morning, what just happened? And you know, and I wasn't thinking, I was certainly not distracted by my problems. I was like, you know, making LOL, you know, and that's not necessarily a negative thing, but maybe not the most life-enhancing thing as well. Just something to think about. And also, you know, and who in here plays games on their computer? Nobody? Okay, that's some people. All right, yay, an honest one, a proud, honest hand goes up there. Well, you know, it's those are also can be fun, but they can also be addictive. And again, you know, sometimes I love to just go in and do them because it's like I've had a long day and it's just a great way to escape. So it's, again, checking in. Is this really becoming too much? And maybe I can look at another way to be more, bring something more productive and life enriching in. So the flow that we're speaking of is the psychology of happiness, which is one of the best examples of a marriage between scientific and deep thinking within the accessible self-help genre. It became an instant bestseller and making its way to the self-help classics. Well, this book, Flow, was really the leading edge in this movement, positive psychology. And so it's about how do we make that flow happen in our life. And when we're living in flow, it's as if the universe is just here to support everything we do. I'm sure we've all had that experience, yes? Mm-hmm. Okay. Who'd like to share where they find themselves getting in the flow? Yeah.
Artwork.
There you go, painting, and that's a great example, exactly. Who else? Yes.
Listening to the birds singing in the morning.
That's another great example, absolutely, yes.
Gardening.
Gardening, I was hoping someone would say that. That's a great one, yes, indeed.
Walking in the rain, under the rain.
In the rain. Walking in the rain.
With an umbrella.
Oh, with an umbrella.
And you listen to the water and the wind in the trees. Sounds. You have the sound of everything around, which is silent. And you have the drops of water on top of your umbrella.
Beautiful.
And you walk and you smell, and there is nothing else.
Well, I'm there with you right now. I can feel it. And we've had some opportunities the past few days to do that, haven't we? So that's a great one. Well, you know, it really is about finding things that are, again, as I said, life-enriching, life-enhancing. Some of these include dancing, hobbies. It could be floral design, sex, socializing. Yes, I said the word. And let's see, reading and very often working. Now, working is an interesting thing because, again, it's all about balance. And I love what I do. So it becomes something that I wake up working on something for Namaste and I go to bed doing something. But I really love it. But again, I could be, ask Ellen, I think people would say that I could be a workaholic in some respects. So but I'm like, it's good stuff, it's positive. But that's not necessarily the best of balance, I don't think. And so I've really began to step back and look at this. And I found my flow recently, which is I sleep in now except on Sundays, most days till like 9 o'clock. That was like never in my thoughts, never. And so I sleep in, I get out of bed slow. Sometimes people will call me and it'll be 1 o'clock and I'm still in my nightgown. But then my day really starts, even though I'm playing around, sending emails, making phone calls in my pajamas in bed. Little do you know, except for now. Yeah, you can envision that. Next time you call me at 11. Okay, she's in her bed. What color's her nightgown? So anyway, but it's really about finding that balance. So for me, at this time, my flow is stay up until midnight or so, sleep until 9, and works for me and feels good. So we have to really be still and ask about, what is my flow? I don't know what your flow is. I hardly know what my own is. But just doing things that can allow this to happen for us. Now, it says some of the activities in which flow is a rare occurrence include housework. Yeah, except we have 2 ladies who clean here, and they're fabulous people. And one of them in particular loves housework. She loves it, doesn't she, Susan? Susan says she's her neighbor and she hears her vacuuming like in the night all the time. She just loves to clean. And it's wonderful. I'm like, I love her flow. And so there is, even though that's not common, that is a possibility to be in flow. So it's really up to us to find where and how we can live in the flow. And living in flow requires us each to take a moment as it comes and be with it. Just fully be in every moment. Instead of projecting into the future or dwelling on the past, whatever comes into my moment, fully be with it and embrace it and love it. And it's actually the most important aspect of being. And so it's really about when we're in happiness, be with it. When we're in joy, be with it. When we're angry, be with it. Not attached to it, but just be with it. Feel it. Let it just flow through your body. And then, if it's an emotion that may be constrictive to flow, blocking that flow of life, because again, we're energetic beings in truth. So we're just, when there's a sickness, for example, in our body, what it is it's an energy block. It's an obstacle. So it's about us being able to maintain that balance and flow in our body. So when we have these negative body experiences or mental experiences, it's about asking Spirit to just lead us through it. Breathe the love into it. That's why we do the meditation, breathing the light into it. It sort of just washes it clean. So awareness is really, really a key to being in flow. One thing I love about being in flow is the synchronicity that happens in life. I mean, it's remarkable. It's just the divine flow, and maybe you'll get a phone call or you'll be thinking about something you'd love to do and that opportunity will present itself, or just all these great things. I mean, just you recognize that there's no accident to who's in your life. I mean, the idea that we coordinated this time together today is a miracle, truly. And whoever is not here wasn't meant to be here, and whoever is here is supposed to be here, and it's all perfect. And when you realize the perfection and the flow of life, it's really remarkable and so powerful. But one of the key aspects of flow and how to get there is really divine guidance. And, what we're here to do, according to the Course in Miracles and other spiritual practices, is to really allow Spirit, this presence of love within each and every one of us, to guide all of our thoughts, all of our actions, One of the mantras from A Course in Miracles is, where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say, and to whom? So when I let Spirit just be in charge, it's like, wow, this is easy. It's so much easier. Anyone struggling in their life right now? Okay, well, you're honest. Thank you. Okay, so what have you learned? We've had a few talks about this.
Well, I mean, I have had a lot of fear lately because there's so much riding on X or Y or Z, and what if X or Y or A, B, or C doesn't happen, and what if it doesn't all fall together into place? And, you know, it's funny, but my whole life, I've landed on my feet. No matter what happens, I land on my feet, and I just kind of have to let the fear go and trust, and I land on my feet, and everything comes together, and it's like, holy cow, or holy God.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
Well, that's so true, because the fear is such a big block, an obstacle to peace or flow.
yeah.
And so you're recognizing that now. You're honest to admit it, and there, you know, it's about saying there is a better way, and I'm willing to accept it. You know, it's up to us but we have to be the ones to make the decision to make that change, to release the fear and those obstacles. So thank you for being honest. And one thing that's so cool is, you know, we all go through, you know, great moments when we're in flow and life is fantastic and peaceful and life couldn't be any better. And then there's those, like, all of a sudden, what just happened here? And that, you know, it's like, wow, what happened? Well, it's just another opportunity to release some obstacles to the awareness of love's presence, as A Course in Miracles would put it. So again, be with it, embrace it, and love it. And so if we allow Spirit, just surrender it to Spirit, Spirit will show us the way, truly. If we have faith, faith is such a huge part of this, because we're so programmed to be conditioned based, to base our level of peace on conditions, or what we think we can accomplish is, well, I can't do that because I only make X amount of dollars a month and blah, blah, blah. Or I'd like to do that, but I'm too old to do that. And we make up all these reasons, but based on our conditions. Well, in Spirit, there are no conditions. It's just infinite. And that's what we need to tap into. And we do that by moment, embracing what is, releasing the fear, asking Spirit to show us another way of being in this world, and life unfolds in a way that we could never, better than we could have ever imagined. And I say that wholeheartedly because it's been my experience. And I've experienced the other side of it as well, so I know both pretty well. So synchronicity is a testimony to surrender. You know, when we totally surrender, we get more in the flow. But, you know, it's that faith again. I'm surrendering, but to what? And, you know, what if it doesn't work? You know, it's like Marianne Williams said, I'd like to surrender to God, but what if God lost my file? And, you know, it's kind of scary. So it's about knowing that, you know, it's about Shirley MacLaine's book, Out on a Limb. The best fruit is out on the limb. You know, we have to put ourselves out there a little bit. But it's always worth it. Now, one thing that we've also heard, and this is kind of a saying that's been going around for a lot of years, is we're not human beings having a spiritual experience, but rather spiritual beings having a human experience. Yeah. And we forget that. Thanks, Karen. We get that backward. We get it, you know, sometimes we think we're human doings instead of human beings. And we forget truly that we're spiritual beings above all. And that aspect of myself is unlimited and grand and total love and connected to all things. So it's that identification. Who do I identify myself with, or what do I identify myself with? As a meat bag or as a spiritual being? And so anyway, it's really to understand that the universe is, you know, we are the universe. We are that. And when we surrender to the universe, we're literally surrendering to ourselves. We forget that our will and God's will are one and the same. Because beyond all of our stories, all of our programming, the core of who we are is love, is God. So when we surrender to that, we're surrendering to ourselves. So there's no loss there. A lot of people think that I don't want to surrender because that means that this may be taken away from you, and I like that. Well, we have to have that faith and confidence that there's actually something even better waiting for us. And, it's understanding that each and every one of us is special. It's like everybody's special. No one's more special than anyone else, but everybody is. Because within us, we all have that divine spark of love. And if we can identify that and see that in ourselves, it's easier to see that in each other. And that's why, although I'm not emotionally distraught over the lack of peace that seems to be happening lately in our world, I'm certainly very compassionate and understanding the value of each and every soul that's going through some great, great challenges right now. So the greatest gift, as we did earlier in our meditation, is just to be that presence, because we are connected to all things, all of life. And the more light I can bring into my own awareness, that's blessing the entire world. And to continue to send love and know that it's not us against them. It's really, how can I be of greater service in this situation? And we'll be led, because every one of them is special. My good friend Ma Jaya, who passed away, I think I've mentioned her before, she always used to talk about, she worked with the people nobody wanted to work with. The people who were, dying of AIDS back in the late 80s, early 90s. Nobody wanted to go near those people. And then she goes to, she's now in heaven, but she went to Africa, opened up an orphanage. I mean, she did really great work on what most people would call throwaway people. And she would say there's no such thing as a throwaway person. Everybody is valid. Everybody is a child of God, and no one's better or worse than. We got to get out of that judgment thing. And so, a lot of things that we do to keep ourselves out of flow, and we do it a lot, if we're honest with ourselves, is, of course, negative self-talk. Just beating ourselves up for whatever. And then that negative self-talk becomes a pattern. And of course, that's a huge obstacle and a block to flow. I don't have to go into that too deeply, but maybe you all can relate to that. There's also the thought of filtering. And filtering is when we put all the negatives out of a situation and focus on them. Again, there's people who can be in the midst of chaos and life appears to be really crummy, but they're just happy and positive because they've chosen to focus and be grateful for positive things. And then there's people with all the blessings in the world, so it seems, and they can find that one person or that one thing to be mad at. Can you relate to that, or know people like that? Then, of course, the personalizing thing, it's always about me. And it's not about anyone else, it's always about me, and because of this, I'm upset or I'm angry. Take things way too personal. The 4 agreements, don't take anything personally. It's not about you. It really isn't. And what other people think of us is none of our business, if you didn't know that already. And then, of course, catastrophic thoughts. It's just envisioning the worst thing that can happen. Where do those thoughts come from? I know people who tell me they have these thoughts. Like, where do they come from? They're just violent, horrible thoughts, and they have these visions of their family being blown up in a plane or something, and for no reason. And so it's some of those just come into our awareness, but we do have the ability to recognize those, take that breath and ask Spirit to wash that thought clean. Because this is really all about healing our mind, healing our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs, and Spirit will wash that clean. So if you do have a negative thought or a catastrophic thought, Spirit will, in an instant, if we ask, shift that from fear to love. But we have to be willing to let go. So it's up to us to, do the exercises. It's a spiritual practice. I know that the more I focus on positive things, the more I'm in flow. I can't afford the luxury of a negative thought in anything. When my mind goes there, choose again, as A Course in Miracles says, and that's the miracle. I've chosen to go from the negativity and the fear to love. So a few things that we can do is just an attitude. If one door does close, no, you know, how many times do we hear as a kid, well, one door closes, another one will open. And that's like, you know, yeah, you know, that's the, yeah, right. And, but it's true. It's you know, and Morgan, you've shared with me something about this BARS program, you know, and just say to yourself, how can it be even better than this? You know, always open up to the possibility. You know, there is greater possibility that we're not even aware of, but we have to put our mind and our energy into that field to let that happen. And then, of course, you know, be willing to give yourself, you know, we're all one, and so when we're giving to a brother, we're giving to ourselves. It's a circular action here. So maybe ask yourself, how can I serve here? How may I give my time to bring a little more light into someone's life? Those are all things that can shift us out of our stuff into something positive. And then, of course, counting kindness. Be, you know, really take note of all the things that we have to be grateful for, and all the times that someone has been kind to us through the day. And better yet, how many times have you been kind each day? It could be letting someone in front of you in traffic. It could be smiling at someone in the grocery store. I just read someone in Walmart, I think, went in and paid for 30 or 40 people's groceries. I mean, wouldn't that be great to be able to do that? Just say, here, I'm buying that whole row of groceries. I mean, and these people are like, wow, I mean, there's random acts of kindness really are huge. I think I shared, I know these two know our friend Judy. And Judy and I went to New York back in, God, it's been 20 years now. Manhattan, and actually we went to march in the Gay Pride Parade. It was so funny. I mean, it was an experience. And and that's a whole other story. But Judy and I were having breakfast, and we had, it was what, $5 a piece, I don't know, it was 20 years ago. And she left a $100 tip. And so sure enough, the waitress comes running down the street, ma'am, you left too much, I think you made a mistake. And Judy's like, no, I didn't. And I mean, you know, that was, you can only imagine how that woman must have felt. And that was something Judy was able to do and gave from her heart, which was so powerful. I know Judy and I used to go around and put dollar bills in people's windshields, you know, so they get in their car and then all of a sudden be like, wow, that's cool. So, you know, pay a toll, you got the gist. But these little random acts of kindness are huge things. And of course, as I said, the gratitude list. All of these things are tools to help us build up flow, and it works. It really does work. You know, we really do have a choice if we want to stay in our stuck place, as we talked about our story last week, or we can open up to flow. And flow is much greater. It really is a lot more easy. Now, you know, when we grew up, and I'll close with this, there was, when you look back at all the fairy tales, now some of them are like, wow, you know, these nursery rhymes are like, man, that's violent. But, you know, no wonder we're screwed up in our program. These things we said over and over. But Humpty Dumpty and so on. But, you know, one of the songs we sang that was really positive, and it just was something you sang over and over and over as kids. Who wants to take a guess what it is?
99 bottles of beer.
How'd you guess? Yeah. Morgan.
Row your boat.
There you go, Morgan. I knew he knew it. Bill, no wonder. Now I know why you're like you are. Okay, we're singing "Row Your Boat" and you're singing "99 Bottles." Okay, now it's beginning to make sense. So anyway, this "Row, row, row your boat" is, you know, the lyrics: "Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream." And if we just, you know, gently down the stream. You know, life is but a dream, and it's up to us if we want to make it a dream of flow, a happy dream, or if we want to make it one about just, you know, upstream, treading upstream. It's up to us. As Abraham says, let go of the oars. So, I'm going to take on the musical role, and I want you all to sing with me. I don't want to be up here alone. So we're going to sing this, and you're going to join me. So we'll sing it through 2 times. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Life is but a dream. All right, good job, guys. You all even picked up the rounds. I wasn't gonna push it that far. But then just as I close, I just want you to repeat this after me because it's a great mantra. And I know it's, the more we can just do mantras, sing, row, row, row your boat, be kind, whatever you can do, but know that your thoughts are constantly creating. So open yourself up to flow and all will be well. So please repeat after me, and that is, I am a divine being in the constant flow of life. I am a divine being in the constant flow of life. And so it is. Namaste.
Namaste.